The media spent 4 years propping up Biden, and now they're working overtime to spin Trump's success into chaos. Today, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, they've had enough. They obliterate their lies. Meanwhile, New York dives headfirst into socialism, and Chicago residents unleash on their mayor in a fiery face-to-face. It's a good one. Plus, you don't want to miss J.D. Vance delivers an unexpected comedy showstopper. It had me laughing pretty hard last night. But first, let's start with one of the media's worst offenders, Joy Reid, who somehow thinks the world would be a safer place if Iran had nukes. You can't make this stuff up. Watch.
This war is not about a real threat that Iran posed to anyone. They don't have nukes, and they didn't have nukes, and they weren't making nukes. This is about a geopolitical push, the same way it was when we went after Mossadegh. To make it, we would rather an Iran with a dictator who's a puppet than a free Iran who could defy us and take the oil we feel entitled to.
What? If you think she has completely lost her mind, hit that like button for me, because Iran pours billions into terrorist groups. And under Biden, they launched over 350 drone strikes on American ships, killing and injuring our service members. The IRGC, a U.S. designated terror group, has tried to assassinate Americans like John Bolton and even our president. Yet Reid spins them as misunderstood? Unbelievable. Now, over at CNN, they're writing headlines that read, quote, early U.S. intel assessments suggest strikes on Iran did not destroy nuclear sites. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio setting the record straight this morning on that intelligence leak.
All the stuff about the intelligence, this is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility, we can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago.
The New York Post is also painting a much different picture than CNN, and one much similar to what Rubio is saying. They're reporting that multiple nuclear physicists and national security analysts have said the strikes, paired with Israel's campaign targeting the top Iranian scientists and military officials, were actually able to push back Tehran's nuclear timeline anywhere from months to years. Now, the comical part is CNN somehow thinks we have the memory of a goldfish because they were telling us that Iran's nuclear program has only been set back by a few months, which drastically contradicts what they tried to tell us several days before the president decided to strike.
This timeline of Iran being a few weeks away from a nuclear bomb is in direct contradiction to CNN's reporting. According to U.S. intelligence assessments, Iran is 3 years away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon if they wanted to. So the facts on Iran getting a nuclear weapon do not bear out the claim at the heart of what has put the world on the verge of world war. It only set back the Iranian nuclear program by months. We got to call it like it is. It's a big deal.
No, I'm going to call it like it is because I feel like I'm losing brain cells watching these people. Let me know down below if you think there's any chance we see legacy media become totally obliterated or if they'll be able to continue to live on. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell if you haven't already. I know some of you have messaged me saying that you're not getting all of our episodes popping up in your feed. So that's one way to make sure you don't miss any headlines. Now, if we circle back to the intelligence leak, CNN is claiming it came from an anonymous source, shocking, which is funny because every time the story is about Trump, the media suddenly has an army of anonymous insiders. Pete Hegseth fired off this warning.
Is there a leak investigation?
Of course. We're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments, and CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this was an overwhelming success.
The White House now responding to the leaked intel and stating how severely they want that person punished.
I understand the FBI is investigating who was the source of that leak because it's an illegal leak to CNN.
What kind of consequence could the leaker face?
They should go to jail.
The White House is not messing around. They're also saying they believe the leak is coming from Capitol Hill. They're saying they're going to start limiting the classified information that they share with these lawmakers as a direct result of this leak that we saw just 24 hours ago. Now, this leaked report is a preliminary report that is deemed to be low assessment, which just essentially means that there's low confidence in the data in that report. And here's why that is, according to Pete Hegseth.
And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated.
Now, in just a few moments, I'm going to show you another moment, arguably more explosive than what you just saw, where a young man lights up Chicago's mayor right to his face. But first, the foreign ministry spokesperson for Iran admitted today that the strikes did badly damage their nuclear facilities. Watch this.
Yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged. That's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
And according to Israel's assessment this morning, Iran's nuclear program has been set back by, quote, many years. Now, here's Congressman Mike Turner doing his best to combat the fake news on CNN.
That headline is not fake news, but it's not news, because the administration did not say that the bombs destroyed Iran's nuclear sites. I have in front of me the president's statement, and the president said that they had carried out massive precision strikes on 3 key nuclear facilities. And at that nuclear facilities, the objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity at those facilities.
Translation, CNN plays semantics. Trump hit 3 out of 30 sites on purpose and left others as leverage. But CNN, they want to twist this to imply failure. Now let's expose the reporter who kicked off this whole firestorm. Watch this.
CNN's Natasha Bertrand is one of the reporters who broke this story. Natasha, tell us more about what your reporting uncovered here.
Yeah, Abby, so we found that the Defense Intelligence Agency, they based their initial assessment on a Central Command battle damage assessment that was done in the days following the strikes. And essentially what they found is that the U.S. military strikes on these 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities, they did not fully destroy the facilities. In fact, they did not appear to have knocked out the underground portion of these facilities, where some of the most core key elements of Iran's nuclear program actually are.
Everybody should remember Natasha Bertrand, because you cannot believe anything this woman says. Here she is back in 2018 pushing the hoax that Donald Trump had a secret back channel to the Kremlin through Russia's Alpha Bank.
I mean, what more evidence do you need? It's very, very obvious, and it's really Occam's razor here. The fact that we still have not been able to rule out the idea that this was a covert communication channel 2 years after the fact that no one has come forth with a plausible explanation for why this was happening, for why Alpha Bank was one of 3 organizations communicating with the Trump server in those months leading up to the election is just completely remarkable.
Natasha is also responsible for writing the first ever fake news piece that Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation. I mean, this woman should not be anywhere near a newsroom with her track record. If I had done this in legacy media during my time, if I had that many stories wrong, I would have been fired so fast. But here she is, living to see another day on the airwaves. Now, here's where things get even more comical. After CNN has been busy spinning Operation Midnight Hammer as a failure, a former Obama White House official tries to make the argument that Obama was the president of, you ready for this? Peace. Let's not forget, Obama dropped 26,172 bombs during his presidency.
I worked for an anti-war president, and I saw, no, he was. He ran against.
How many countries did you bomb the crap out of?
Well, that's what I'm going to say.
Lord
Stop.
have mercy.
Like, no, like you guys didn't just use bombs for diplomacy.
But do you want to put the scorecards up against each other?
I'm
between
happy
bombs
to put
and
up
drones?
scorecards.
You all are the key.
I got lots of scorecards.
I guess she can argue that Obama is anti-war because that's how Putin saw it. That's exactly why he took Crimea under Obama's watch. Now look at this. She tries to give credit for sending Iran back to Biden, all while rooting against peace for the region.
This action was planned by the military for multiple administrations. You just said yourself, Israel has been pummeling Iran because the Biden administration was providing weaponry for them to do so. So I will say, it's just amazing to me
plans
that
are only
it
of
lasts
paper unless they're
multiple
executed.
administration.
And this plan was executed flawlessly. Occasionally, the correct answer is just
rolled the dice.
Good job, President Trump. Well done.
He
Occasionally,
rolled the
that's
dice,
the right answer.
but he rolled the dice. We don't know how this is going to end. Is this going to bring about peace? I'm not sure. If you want to say tonight, for sure, 100%, it's peace, I'm actually willing to kind of look at that bet, because over the course of time,
you're hoping for something else?
No, I'm not.
So whatever portion of this mission they want to consider was successful is because of past presidents. But there's no way this mission will lead to peace. Just a ceasefire. A viewer stated to me the other day, I thought this was pretty funny. He wrote, if Trump walked on water, the media would just say he can't swim. And if he cured cancer, they would tell you he put several doctors out of a job, which is basically what we are seeing unfold in the media. Let's move to this. MSNBC's Nicole Wallace. She made my jaw hit the floor last night. Watch her say she's gutted by the deportation of Tren de Aragua gang members. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. Take a look.
I remember the first day I read about the deportations to El Salvador of the alleged Tren de Aragua members for whom no evidence was ever presented that they had anything to do with Tren de Aragua. And I remember saying to Mike, I wish I didn't feel so gutted, and I wish I could stop thinking about these guys being scared in El Salvador.
Ah, yes, the tragic tale of the poor, misunderstood alleged gang members. Why focus on the families terrorized by MS-13 when we can fret over the feelings of their alleged foot soldiers being sent back to their own country? I mean, maybe next time we just throw them some frequent flyer miles and a therapy dog. What is she talking about? She's got to be living in an alternate universe. And speaking of that, what is happening in New York City? Have these folks lost their minds too? They just selected a socialist to be the Democrat nominee for mayor.
Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized. Where buses are fast and free. Where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY. It's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
Check out some of these disturbing posts by Mamdani, all calling to defund the police and build a socialist New York. In fact, let's take a little trip to Chicago and see how defunding the police is working out for Mayor Brandon Johnson. Watch this.
Thank the DOJ for opening up an investigation on the mayor's insane, out-of-control DEI hiring. You said in a recent interview that black people don't just look out for ourselves, but for everyone else as well. Well, clearly they're not getting the memo, because they're destroying downtown and they're destroying the city with things like Teen Takeover. And when you say things like this, it just makes you look more incompetent and racist as a mayor. You need to start pushing more law and order in the city of Chicago. Help the police do their job. I am asking you all to vote for the curfew and make the curfew time permanent for teens. Hold the parents accountable as well. Teens are doing majority of the crime, and you know it, Brandon Johnson. They're even putting it on YouTube. They're openly mocking you. They're mocking you on Instagram and YouTube and all social media platforms, and you allow it every single day.
Maybe the folks in the Big Apple should heed this man's warning. Now, something else concerning about Mamdani is what he said about the leader of our greatest ally, Israel.
Would Mayor Mamdani welcome Benjamin Netanyahu to the city?
No. As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a city that our values are in line with international law. It's time that our actions are also.
New York better get their act together. Now, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, he's considering running as an independent, just like Mayor Adams. And speaking of Adams, he received a ton of criticism for cooperating with the Trump administration, and he now says he's the option to prevent a slide into anti-police socialism.
I delivered for this city, and we're not going backwards. We're not going into a place where we want to defund the police.
Mayor Adams is expected to formally launch his election campaign tomorrow, so we will look out for that news. Now, since the news has been so intense this past few weeks, I wanted to end today's show on a lighter moment. JD Vance yesterday told a story that had me cracking up last night, and I had to share it with you. So I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and it gives you a good chuckle. Watch this.
The president looks over at me, puts the foreign leader on mute and says, "This is not going very well," and he presses the red button. And my eyes get really big, and I'm like, "Mr. President, you know, what just happened?" And he looks at me and he goes, "Nuclear." Nuclear. And 2 minutes later, a guy walks in with a Diet Coke, and he looks back at me and he says, "It wasn't nuclear, it's just the Diet Coke button."
How can the media hate this man so much? I mean, if they drop the partisan blinders for just a second, they might actually crack a smile. Because while they're over there busy seething, the leader of the free world is out there showing strength with a sense of humor. I mean, the truth is the world is now seeing what real leadership looks like: precision, power, and peace through strength. And if that terrifies the press, I say good, because the days of America apologizing to its enemies are over. Now up next, Trump, so furious, he drops the F-bomb live on camera. Find out what had the president so heated. I also do a deep dive into a federal judge who was just overturned by SCOTUS and is now openly defying the high court's ruling over Trump's deportation flights. Go ahead, click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there.